From Los Angeles, I set out for the coast between Morro Bay and San Simeon via a slightly circuitous route. Part of my goals for this trip is to visit 16 post offices in 5 counties, stations that I had missed on previous trips. This will actually complete 3 counties for me: Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. This route is also wonderfully scenic, using California State Route 33 from Ojai to New Koyama. This highway is always fairly desolate, but even more so right after dawn. When you get to the top, there are expansive views north of rugged wilderness. After stopping into the post office in New Koyama, my last in Santa Barbara County, California State Route 166 heads west through the Los Padres National Forest and ends at the 101 just north of Santa Maria. I do not spend much time on the main highway though, and take the back way into San Luis Obispo via California State Route 227. From here, the classic entrance to Morro Bay is right on California State Route 1, the Pacific Coast Highway, but after visiting both post offices in town, I decide to come to Los Osos and make my way to Morro Bay from this southern neighbor. Here along the edge of the Morro Bay State Marine Reserve, you are greeted by the Los Osos Bear. I will let you make fun of that name, since Los Osos obviously means the bears to begin with. This entrance into town also affords the opportunity to head into the Morro Bay State Park, where you can stop into the Museum of Natural History and get your first views of that good-looking rock on the other side of the bay. All of the activities you can do on the water start to come into focus as you walk around the grounds of the museum. Paddleboarders with the park's coastal dunes frame the scene perfectly. One of the reasons for this trip is to gain more knowledge about what is now called Morro Rock, a painfully boring name given by Spanish settlers. In the ancestral homelands of the Salinan and northern Chumash, the rock has always and will always be sacred to both peoples. First, it's been a long morning and I am getting hungry and thirsty. While we head into town, just a reminder that this channel will never pretend to be an expert about a place I do not live in. I know that is popular on YouTube, and top 10 lists or promises of perfect itineraries can be clickbait, but this is only my 3rd time visiting these communities. These videos are just a record and one perspective, not the musings of a self-described expert. A big purpose of travel for Nina and I is to learn as much as we can about the places we visit. Unfortunately, Nina had to return home to Thailand during the time of this trip, and I am alone. So a brewery with a long menu of German-inspired sausages rose straight to the top of my lunch plans. The brewery takes the nickname of Morro Bay itself. The 3 stacks are of course the concrete smokestacks of a now decommissioned power plant that closed in 2014. They are scheduled to be demolished by 2028, and this has understandably upset many community members as they have gained an iconic status. To walk off some of those calories, I take a walk along the boardwalks of town, most of which has a pedestrian right-of-way. Morro Bay and the other coastal communities nearby all have a fantastic infrastructure of tourism. Couples and families that love to eat seaside, buy souvenirs and trinkets, eat ice cream and saltwater taffy will all love a trip here. While I love ice cream and saltwater taffy as much as the next person, this tourist footprint is not really what attracts me to places, but Morro Bay and its neighbors also retain their strong local character. After stopping into the post office, I head back towards those 3 stacks and a rock, this time to get a closer look at the rock. While this volcanic plug used to be an island, you can now drive out on the causeway that was originally built using rock blasted off its surface. For 80 years, beginning in 1889, the government blasted 250,000 tons of rock off this sacred place to create breakwaters in Morro Bay and Avila Beach. These are memories that living elders of the Salinan and northern Chumash peoples can still remember today. This desecration remains a deep wound for all members of both tribes. Recent years have been more of a mixed bag for the Chumash, rather than just bad news. Their 2015 proposal to create the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, the very first of its kind submitted by indigenous people, was finally designated in late 2024. While the rest of this trip will take place in the ancestral homelands of the Salinan, if you are interested to learn more about the Chumash, look out for another video in a couple weeks about a visit to the brand new Santa Ynez Chumash Museum and Cultural Center. I had a fascinating time there. Back on the road north from Morro Bay, there is not all that much ground to cover to get to the next town of Cayucos, but there are too many little spots to stop at along the way and get a new view down to Morro Rock. The first of these is Morro Strand State Beach and requires a bit of a sandy walk out to the water. A little further north is the North Point Natural Area, which gives an even wider angle towards Morro Bay and Morro Rock. I missed the turn I was planning to take while admiring coastal scenery, but this afforded the opportunity to enter Cayucos from the north. Cayucos has developed around the northernmost part of this long beach that stretches down to Morro Bay. The town's tourist facilities center around the long pier, which is worth a nice stroll on. There are plenty of places to grab a bite, especially pleasant if you are here during sunset on a clear day. Many of the restaurants have views out towards the beach and pier. Back on the road out of town that I accidentally came in on, I had noticed a turnoff for Estero Bluff State Park and wanted to check that out. You get a good sense of the classic rocky coast that will dominate as you head further north. There is also a shipwreck here that shows how quickly dangerous navigating these waters has become. The ship was the Point Estero and saw its last work as a commercial fishing vessel in the summer of 2017 before crashing here on the 28th of July of that year. Before the Pacific Coast Highway turns inland away from these rocky cliffs on its way to Cambria, I wanted to see everything from above, so I find a place to park with no one around. I hope you are not tired of seeing Morro Rock because it still takes a prominent place in the distance. In a way, this is prototypical California. Along the Central Coast, the beloved Golden Hills give way to rocky coastlines and powerful surf. As we have seen, the communities develop in places with nice beaches and are simultaneously full of local flair and destinations for tourists from near and far. After hugging the coast, California Highway 1 heads inland for a while, but this is to avoid some rather rugged and beautiful lands. For this reason, the big hike of the day is planned for Harmony Headland State Park, which requires a 30 or 40 minute walk out to the coast from the small parking lot.
Sure is windy out here at the Harmony Headlands. Talked to some people at the parking lot. One of them says it's 45 minutes total. One of them says it's 45 each way. Almost to the sea. I can see the sea. I would say I've been walking for 25 minutes. Looks like it could be another 15. There's only, I would say, room for eight cars in the parking lot. So it's not going to be a whole lot of people on this trail.
What are now hiking trails in the park have been routes of movement for Salinan peoples for thousands of years. They change their locations seasonally to follow weather, food, and the necessary supplies for living. Once I reach the coast, I find that there is a convenient bench to use to sit down and enjoy the view. sun is still fairly high in the mid-afternoon sky, so I do not linger long and head back to the parking lot. From the Harmony Headlands, it is only about a 12-minute drive through Central California's Golden Hills to the Cambria post office. I was delighted to find a mural made by a local Chumash artist on the front of the post office. Tomol Rides Wish Toyo was revealed 2 years ago and was simultaneously meant to put a spotlight on indigenous culture in the area and raise awareness for the National Marine Sanctuary that recently was approved. Success all around, I would say, and a beautiful addition to the street. Cambria seems a little different than the Central Coast's other cities. Its main street is not near the coast. I notice a few coffee shops and decide I will head back here in the morning for a cup. In the meantime, I drive through some of its large neighborhoods, which do have access to the coast in various locations. Eventually, I come to some seaside properties that touch the tiny Moonstruck Lookout State Park. Another well-placed bench and no neighbors around to bother means another chance to check out things from above. From over the Pacific Ocean, Cambria's residential neighborhoods seem like idyllic places. The street climbs away from the rocky coast, so each house must have a great view of the sunset each evening. My final stop in Cambria is the lovely Leffingwell Landing Park. Another beautiful chance to enjoy the coast. There are probably at least 3 or 4 times the amount of public places you can stop and enjoy the coast in this stretch, and the views never get old, especially on beautiful days like these. When I get to my destination for the evening, there is still quite a bit of summer evening daylight, so I check in and keep heading up the coast. There is a very famous stop just north of town, and always a lot of performers ready to entertain. These elephant seals can be found in many places up and down the coast, but this viewing platform is guaranteed to have quite a large number anytime you come. These interesting creatures always seem to be upset with one another, even when just trying to find a place to rest. Just down the road from these chubby beasts is my final stop of the day. If you plan your trip ahead of time, you can reserve a tour of the Piedras Blancas Light Station on limited days. I have to settle for seeing the lighthouse from afar, which is still pretty special. I'm finally hungry again and head back to San Simeon. If I have one solid suggestion for future travelers or future me, it is to eat exclusively in Cambria, Cayucos, or Morro Bay. All the restaurants in San Simeon for dinner or breakfast are pretty bad. I am not a fan of bad-mouthing a mom-and-pop business though, so let's just move on in the fog the next morning, grab that coffee in Cambria, and head onwards. Now full of caffeine, the last 3 post offices I want to visit before heading back south are actually over on the 101. This gives me the opportunity to take the beautiful California State Route 46 over the coastal range. Besides a fair bit of construction, along the way there are 2 scenic pullouts that afford views of more golden hills stretching back to the coasts I traveled yesterday. Like anything, a trip along this coast between Morro Bay and San Simeon will be exactly what you make of it. From up here, high above, I can reflect on what I will do again next time and what I might change for a future visit. Best of all, and unexpected, I catch one last view all the way down to Morro Rock from this vantage point. It is the perfect way to end my time in the area.